for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This Uinta Golf Open Championship update is brought to you by Mountain Land Supply, Zions Bank, Black Desert Resort, Hoops Vision, and Siegfried and Jensen. And now, Real Golf Radio's Brian Taylor.
All right, welcome on in, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. We are live from Riverton City Park in Riverton, Utah, for our Olympic kickoff party. Yeah, we got the whole crew out here, and yes, there is a face painting station. It looks like the line's getting kind of long. If you need to get me a Sharpie and start working on some of these faces, I'll do it. It's fine. I take tips too, no problem.
I bet you could come up with some phenomenal designs.
I know they're all. I saw that you did this stick figure family on my face. I'm really loving that. Yeah, so you can come down and get the real face painting artist, though, working on you. And we've got some cold drinks. We've got the Otter Pops rolling. We've got all sorts of fun stuff going on. We'll take your picture in front of the Olympic rings, and Luann will print them out for you. You know why? Because she's a good person. This is all personally donated by her, okay? The rings,
her printer and her
She
paper.
owns the rings, too, technically, so it's a really good deal.
She worked out a deal with NBC for this.
You know. Come down and get your pictures in front of the official Olympic rings, the KSL Olympic rings that we've got out here at the park. So, and then get that picture printed off for you. In the meantime, yes, we had quite an interesting Open Championship. And for the second time this year, Xander Schauffele quietly getting great and having another amazing major tournament. Joining us on the program right now, Brian Taylor, Real Golf Radio, 8 to 10 a.m. every Saturday right here on the KSL Sports Zone. BT, we don't talk about Xander Schauffele enough for a guy who won two major championships this year.
It's amazing what winning can do, right? I mean, I love this game. You know, you can go from let's rewind back to March and the Players' Championship, and it was Xander Schauffele who was looking to pick up a Players' Championship when who's that guy? Scotty Scheffler goes out and fires, a final round 64, I think it was, and just stole it away from him, hold out for eagle, and Xander was left answering the questions about how gutted he was and so close again, and all the Xander fans, decrying another missed opportunity. And then next thing you know, he's hoisting the Wanamaker Trophy and now the Claret Jug in the same season while he's preparing to waltz over to France and defend his gold medal in the Olympics. So, yeah, suddenly, it's like I said, it's amazing what a win or two will do. And Xander Schauffele is now making people question who's the player of the year with 4 weeks to go, Scotty Scheffler or Xander Schauffele.
That's pretty crazy, and it's a tribute to Xander that he's put himself in that conversation. But like you're saying earlier this year, we're having this conversation about how Xander Schauffele is the best player that's never won a major, and he's certainly blown that narrative out of the water. But is it fair that we judge these guys based on that? Is it fair that we judge how good these PGA golfers are, or even if they're on the LIV Tour, based on how many majors they won? Is that an unfair thing, or do you think that really is what defines a golfer's legacy?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think it's something that you could argue. But, if you have a guy that has – Brooks Koepka's a really good example. He has, I'm stretching here, 8 or 9 wins, and 5 of them are majors. Or you've got a guy with, let's say pick a guy that's got 16 wins but 1 major. Which career are you taking? What would you rather have? It's an interesting idea. Ever since Jack Nicklaus started winning off major championships the way he did, and the Grand Slam became a modern Grand Slam became a thing, it started to become the way that the players were measured for greatness. How many major championships have you won? I think you have to win at least one, and multiple majors really validates you as a legit, great player. You need some wins in there. Brooks Koepka certainly has a Hall of Fame, career. Again, Billy Casper won. Bob's dad won 51 times. That speaks a lot, 51 times. Yeah. But he has the 3 majors to go with it, right? 2 U.S. Opens and a Masters. And so I just think if Billy had won 51 times and never won a major, there would always be that asterisk a little bit. Well, he won 51 times, but he never won the big one, so to speak. And I just think you sort of have to do that to validate your career. And so that's what Xander's done. Is it fair? I don't know. I don't even know if that's the right terminology. It's kind of the way the tour game and the pros at the highest level measure themselves, quite frankly.
Well, and you win the claret jug and you win a Masters jacket. You know, if you do those two things in your career, the people don't question your greatness. But it is kind of funny how Xander winning the PGA Championship. People go, well, that's a fun major.
Oh, that was cute.
Isn't that? I mean, I don't know. That's a way that people kind of look at it, though, right? But when you win the oldest trophy in golf, then people go, oh, maybe we should. It's not like Xander Schauffele sneaking in under the radar, but at the same time, it is an interesting point that we go straight from, oh yeah, he won the PGA. That's a little different than winning the Masters and winning the U.S. Open, because we love talking about Bryson DeChambeau's U.S. Open win. We love talking about the Masters every year. And when he won the British Open, there were the Open Championship, I think a lot of people went, oh, yeah, I forgot he did win that earlier this year.
I think one of the coolest things that Xander said about winning, he won the Scottish Open a couple of years ago, and now he has won the Open Championship, the Claret Jug, as you just pointed out. And he said, it validates that my game can travel. I think that's pretty cool. When you think about the kind of conditions, and I absolutely loved what Troon presented, by the way. I was standing up and applauding at the end of it. I mean, what a bunch of storylines. And to see Xander step up and take it amidst the challenges that the weather and the golf course was producing while others were faltering and, others were trying to make a charge. And it was just really, really good stuff. You have so many things to overcome. I love Augusta National. I love the Masters. It's my favorite major championship. And it is sort of the opposite, right? It's everything's perfect, and you just have to go out and execute, and you have to be better than the next guy. The Open's a little bit more get your elbows dirty a bit. It's a little bit more gritty, and it requires you to hit different shots. It doesn't have to be pretty, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to get it done, and guys go about it doing it differently. I mean, we saw drivers into par threes. We saw irons off the tee on 650-yard par fives. I mean, that kind of stuff you just don't see every day. So I think it's a real testament to a guy that won the fun Wanamaker Trophy, as you put it, but also the gritty Claret Jug. I mean, that's some pretty heady stuff he's doing right now.
Yeah. Well, BT, we talked about how tough Royal Troon is going to be in any links course is, but especially there. We saw the weather wreak havoc on Saturday. I know the conditions weren't the same on Sunday, but just how remarkable is Xander Schauffele's final round, a bogey-free 65, and to finish the way he did on that back nine? I mean, how historic was that? How blown away were you watching him make that incredible run?
Well, like I said, I think it's cool when you see a guy that just steps up and takes it. There was a lot of sparring going on the front nine, right? And, yeah, the weather conditions weren't the same. We talked about Henrik Stenson back in 2016 firing a final round 63 to beat Phil Mickelson. Phenomenal, like out-of-this-world stuff, right? He and Phil were so far ahead of the rest of the field. But in this case, where everybody was battling, and for him to just all of a sudden put the pedal down, shift gears, and put everybody in his rearview mirror on that back nine, hitting some flawless shots, the only birdie on 12, which was the hardest hole on the golf course, and then just shifting it, making a couple more down the stretch. To me, it was super impressive. And he was asked afterwards, where does this rank? And he's like, he didn't hesitate. It's the best round he's ever played. And given the conditions, and he said he told his caddy, I don't know if you saw this exchange, but he told his caddy, I think on 18, that he was feeling pretty calm. And his caddy said afterwards he was ready to throw up. The caddy. So I mean, that's kind of how the pressure, and I marvel at guys like Xander and what we've seen from Scotty this year and the great players where they can just get into a calm in the middle of the highest pressure pack situation. And to me, that's why you watch sports, to be able to see people do what is really impossible for most of us, just to be able, I can tell you, even if you were a really good player, the emotions and the pressure that you would be feeling in that moment would probably cripple you. We saw that. Billy Horschel probably should have won that thing. I mean, he was in great position, but he's never really done it before. And that's not a knock on Billy, but the next level guys have the ability to put that pressure behind them or let it fuel them and find that calm so that they can execute. And that's what Xander did.
Friday was one of those brutal days. We had, I think we had Bob on with us, and we were talking a little bit about how brutal it was. And then later in the day, I saw this. I'm sure you probably saw it, BT, but it was every worst score on the course that day across the entire Friday, and they just went hole by hole, the worst scores on every hole, and the score ended up 128. So if you go to freaking all the worst scores, and then even more brutally, and I thought it was nice that the guys at the Golf Channel were like, they didn't mention who it was. I thought you probably obviously would have been easy to find, but 13 and 14, a par 4 and a par 3 respectively. The two worst scores were a 9 and a 9, and it was the same guy who shot the back-to-back 9s on all those. And I thought, you know what? If there is a course that could show you that the pros, that could trick you into thinking that your game isn't that far off, is adding up all the worst scores together on a Friday for a 128 compared to what you could have gotten. But so then when you look at the 65 by Xander Schauffele on Sunday, it just seems even more impressive. And that's why the Open is amazing, because days like Friday, it chewed up and spit out some of the best golfers in the world, and it's like, see you next year. Good luck, but that's why we love it.
Yeah, that's why we love it. And another good example of that is Justin Thomas. On the front nine Friday shot 45, and on Saturday shot 31. Yeah. 14 shots different on the same 9 holes, one day after the next. That's the kind of stuff you get. That's why we talk about early in the week. Tough to predict because you don't know what side of the draw and the weather you're going to get. The thing I will say, there was a little bit of a favor towards the draw, but for the most part, everybody had the same challenges with the weather as everybody else did. So, like I said, I know there's some out there, if they're like, hey, you weren't there, I got the worst of it, and I'm sure. But generally speaking, I think it was equally difficult for everybody. So, great stuff. And by the way, if you went out there under those same conditions, scratch player, could you beat the 128? I'd be curious.
Well, that's the thing, is that I think a lot of pros will go, I can't remember who it was, but I remember listening to you guys maybe a couple of years ago where it was like a guy going out with a who shoots a 90 on a Muni course at the Masters would probably be in that 120 range, just because of how difficult the golf course is set up. People don't understand that. They hear, oh, Justin Thomas shot a 45 on Friday. Well, so did I. On a front nine. Yeah, it's like, you know what? The Davis Park is a little different than Royal Troon.
Davis Park.
So I think that in that sense, but again, that's why people spend thousands of dollars, BT, on golf clubs, and they go, I think I can do this, because they see scores like that.
I can see what they do with that. Justin Thomas uses that. I'll use it. But you think about that. If the caliber of a two-time major champion can go out there and shoot a 45 for 9 holes in those conditions. Honestly, be honest with yourself. What are you going to shoot out there? Yeah. I'm not saying that if you played Justin Thomas and he gave you 5 aside or 10 aside, that you might not sneak up and beat him one time. But you just have to ask yourself, if he's doing that as a 2-time major winner, you might want to, you're just happy you don't have to do that for a living, because it's brutal.
I'm an 18 handicap, and my son is a single-digit handicap. That's already embarrassing enough for me to go out with him. So I don't. It's not fun. I already know what the score is going to be.
You mean it's embarrassing when you beat him?
Yeah, for him. No, you know what? Those are some of the worst meltdowns. Is when he loses to me. Because for that to happen, I got to put together a pretty good day. He's got to have a crap day. And when Dad can beat a kid, that's a good feeling.
It's a good thing. Yeah,
it doesn't happen that often.
That's all we have left to hang our hats on.
We're
not beating anybody else.
I'm not beating him one-on-one on the basketball court, and it's very, very, very few times am I able to beat him on the golf course nowadays. So it's fun. BT, we love listening to you guys. You guys do a phenomenal job. Thanks again for another great year of major coverage. And you know what? We're going to call you and talk about not just the majors coming up here toward the end of the season here when we get closer to the FedEx playoffs, things like that. And we're going to be excited about that for you as well, because we love talking to you, man. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. Feelings mutual. Love to do it anytime. And so we've got a few weeks left, then we got playoffs. Then we got President's Cup, and then we got PGA Tour coming to Utah. So there's going to be some things we can check in on for sure.
Awesome. Absolutely. All right, there you go. BT, we appreciate it. We'll take a break here. We'll come back. We've got more to go around the corner. Stay with us. Weekend Warriors right around the corners, right here. We're at Riverton City Park here. We're doing the Olympic kickoff. Can we even use the word Olympics? The games kickoff We've been in so many meetings where we've been threatened with how much
we
we're
need
going
an
to get in
attorney
trouble.
sitting next to you.
Let's get our
during
general
the break.
counsel in the building.
It's
But
going to
yes.
be a long 3 weeks for us trying to figure out what we can and cannot say.
Yeah, but we'll
I
call
think
it
you're good.
We'll call it an Olympics kickoff, and we're asking people to come down, grab something cold to drink, get yourself an Otter Pop, get your face painted, and hang out with us. We got more to go right around the corner. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.